Even matchup in 2025. Pretty even matchup in recent history. Welcome into the Voice of College Football for the best in discussion, debate, and analysis. Please like the video and subscribe right here at the Voice of College Football. And for breakdowns on Notre Dame, Penn State, check out the comments section below. We have left the links to the many discussions, debates, and conversations concerning this matchup coming up on Thursday night. Here we go to history between Notre Dame and Penn State. 9-1 between the two. Many historic clashes that most of us remember from the late 1980s and the 1990s. They last played in 2007. Again, Notre Dame and Penn State get together. They were once Eastern powers of independent status. Now, of course, Penn State, Big Ten member since 1993, and Notre Dame with largely an ACC schedule for the past 10 years. Let's look at how the numbers stack up between these two storied programs going all the way back to the beginning of time, courtesy Winsipedia. And the Nittany Lions won that last matchup 31-10 in State College. Charlie Weiss on the sideline for the Irish Joe Pa for Penn State. The all-time winning percentage at Notre Dame is just 3 percentage points behind all-time leader Ohio State at 732, number 4 in the nation behind Alabama and Michigan. Penn State number 9 at 691, 943 all-time wins. 11 national championships for Notre Dame, according to the AP. And of course, national championships are so subjective. There are so many services out there, and it's one of our tasks and objectives here at the Voice of College Football to weed through the national championships, review them, and right the wrongs here in the offseason. Penn State with 2, even though in the late 1960s, of course, they had 2 teams into the early 70s that went undefeated, did not win national championships. They had a team in 1982 that lost a game by 21 points and won a national championship. Last national title for Notre Dame, 1988, Lou Holtz. Joe Pa in defeating Jimmy Johnson at the Fiesta Bowl in 1986, the last natty for Penn State. 4 conference championships for the Nittany Lions. Not many in the Big Ten. That's just 4 in the Big Ten, going back to their entry into the conference in 1993. In Penn State's second season, they won the Big Ten with an undefeated 1994. And of course, Notre Dame's never won a conference championship because they refused to join a conference. 42 bowl games for Notre Dame, 55 for Penn State, as Notre Dame did not play bowl games prior to the 1970s. And Notre Dame, again, number 4 all-time in wins. Penn State is number 7. The bowl record for Notre Dame is 524 winning percentage at 22-20. But of course, that long drought of major bowl losses, 10 consecutive, going back to the 1994 Cotton Bowl, just ended a few days ago. For Penn State, a sterling all-time bowl record, as Joe Paterno was one of the best in the business, along with Bobby Bowden during the 1980s and 90s in winning bowl games. And James Franklin has had a decent run at Penn State, winning in the postseason. 33-18-2 is the 7th best of all time. 109 consensus All-Americans for Notre Dame. That's the best mark in college football history. And 44 for Penn State, ranks number 11. Heisman Trophy winners, Notre Dame at number 7. And Penn State has that lone Heisman Trophy. John Cappelletti in that brilliant speech, of course, in 1972. NFL draft selections, Notre Dame at number 1 ahead of USC and Ohio State. Penn State back at number 7. And Notre Dame has the 4th most first-round picks. Ohio State at number 1. Penn State at number 14 in first-round selections. Weeks in the AP poll, Notre Dame is 4th. And Penn State is number 9 at 711. Weeks at number 1, Notre Dame with 98. That ranks 4th all-time. And Penn State at number 17. Might be surprising there that they rank that low, with only 21 weeks ranked in the AP number 1 spot. So despite Penn State's storied history, it obviously pales in comparison all-time to Notre Dame, because Penn State, basically, football accomplishments are all under the name of Joe Paterno. Although James Franklin changing that with some recent accomplishments, of course, just adding to Joe Pa's legacy, but it's basically Penn State is Joe Paterno. Notre Dame has had many great coaches throughout the ages and got a head start on Penn State from a football elite status standpoint. But when we slice and dice the numbers more recently, it becomes quite the battle between these two. Starting with the college football playoff era since 2014, 11 seasons. Notre Dame at 761 winning percentage. Penn State only 7 wins behind at 711. Notre Dame, of course, made the college football playoff in 2018 and 2020. This is their third appearance. Penn State's first, of course. It's been much discussed and documented that Penn State would have benefited the most of any team in the country with a 12-team playoff during the 4-team era, as Penn State would have made it 6 of 10 years, but they never made the 4-team playoff. In terms of rankings, this is awfully close. During the CFP era, 11 seasons, Notre Dame's been ranked 9 times, Penn State 7, 4 times for each of them in the top 10. Notre Dame 3 top 5 finishes. We're counting this year because these teams are in the Final Four. They're going to finish in the top 5 ranked. Penn State, this would be their first top 5 appearance during the CFP era, and actually for quite some time. Major bowl games, of course, Notre Dame just won its first major bowl game in forever. We're also counting college football playoff games as the equivalent of major bowl games. So 2-4 for Notre Dame since 2014. Penn State a fine 5-2 mark, last winning a major bowl game before this season in the 2022 Rose Bowl against Utah. Now let's take it back a notch to the 21st century and a pretty close comparison once again between the Irish and the Nittany Lions. Notre Dame with a slightly better record. 215 and 101's a 68% winning percentage to Penn State 663 on 209 versus 106. Rankings, Notre Dame 15 appearances in the top 25 in the 25 football seasons. So that's not a great mark out of these two storied football programs. Only 15 times ranked out of 25 seasons for Notre Dame, as of course they had some rough patches under Bob Davie, Ty Willingham, and of course Charlie Weiss. For Penn State, 12 ranked finishes. They had the rough patch between Joe Pa's ending. Bill O'Brien did a nice job, but neither one of those teams finished ranked at 8-4 and 7-5. And then it took a couple seasons for James Franklin to get things fired up. Notre Dame 6 top 10 finishes, Penn State 7. And again, this would be the first time in the 21st century that Penn State has finished in the top 5 in the nation. Notre Dame 5 times, including, of course, the BCS championship loss to Bama in 2012, the 2 playoff appearances recently in 2018, and also in 2020, and the Fiesta Bowl loss to Oklahoma State still landed Notre Dame in the top 5 in 2022. Major bowl games, again, Notre Dame winless for all that time, 2-8 with the 2 playoff wins this year. Penn State at 6-3, winning the one major bowl game between 2000 and going all the way up to the James Franklin era and the 2017 season. In 2005, the 2006 Orange Bowl, an overtime win against Florida State. Again, Penn State really came of age under Joe Paterno, who took over the reins in 1966 and became a national power almost immediately. And actually, Penn State with a better record since 1970, the last 55 seasons over Notre Dame. 491 wins, 182 losses, 2 ties, 729 winning percentage for Penn State against Notre Dame's 702 mark. In regards to rankings, it's awfully close. 55 seasons, Penn State has finished ranked 36 times, Notre Dame 34 times. 23 top 10 finishes for Penn State to 17 for Notre Dame. Notre Dame 1 more. Top 5 finish, 12-11. And in major bowl games, there you go. It's Notre Dame 12-14, Penn State a sparkling 17 out of 24 in the victory column in major bowl contests. The AP poll goes back to 1936. That's about 89 seasons. Notre Dame has finished ranked 60 times, 40 in the top 10, 26 in the top 5. Most recently, 2012, 15, 18. Also, those teams almost made the college football playoff, and 15 in particular, the 2020 team, and 22 as well. And for Penn State, once again, a little bit later to the party of Blue Bloods, 46 times ranked, 29 times in the top 10, 15 in the top 5. And the latest before this season was that 2005 team that finished as the Big Ten champion. What's all this have to do with this year's game? Nothing. We love running down the history here at the Voice of College Football, comparing the teams and the conferences and the all-time rankings and putting it into context. We will spend much of our off-season doing this. And, of course, we review all the national championships and we right the wrongs of college football history. Speaking of which, disputed national champions, Penn State and Notre Dame fans and college football nerds and junkies, this is a must-read. The link's in the description section down below. $9.99. You'll love it. It's a quick read. It's a good read. We dissect every season of the 1990s. Who got screwed? Who got left out? What were the storylines, the big plays, the game-changing decisions, all of it. And then how did that season impact college football history going forward? Then it's not just a history book. We take this and we fast forward all these seasons, 1990, 91, 92, all the way through 1999. We fast forward these seasons into the BCS era, into the 4-team college football playoff era, into the 12-team, the 14-team that's being proposed, to give you a look at what that would have looked like in those seasons. Lock it in here, the Voice of College Football. Best discussion, debate, and analysis based on your participation. So this is the place to be.